What's going on, everybody? This is James Graham, Master Facts Boys, and you're here for another Facts Project review. Today, we are going to be covering News of the Fallout Issue 1, written by Chris Condon, who you know from Ultimate Wolverine, as well as artwork by Jeffrey Allen Love and lettering by Hassan Otsmane El How. Now, to look at this just from context alone, just how this is basically mapped out, the entire book is done in this grainy, black and white, somewhat sadistic to the times, how it's basically constructed by Jeffrey Allen Love. And I think it's fantastic. Chris Condon actually introduces a setting of an undisclosed location locally known as Atomic Alley in southern Nevada in 1962. This is during the period of time where we're testing out nuclear weapons in an undisclosed flatland area, all done by the United States Army. And the Army base is a Gaines Army base. But we get introduced to a character by the name of General McCoy, who, of course, is the antagonist in the story and seems to have discovered something that more so he shouldn't have. Because in his hands, sitting at his desk, is a very dull, perilous rock. And he's just staring into it. It's literally like the Kylo Ren staring into Vader's mask type deal, to where he's just talking to it, saying, "It's beautiful, isn't it? The most beautiful damn thing I've ever seen." So necessarily, there's always like a trope to where if nuclear testings are happening at a consistent basis, things more so will start to mutate. But the thing is, what exactly is happening on this land to where General McCoy is so very interested in the bombings that are happening and where they're happening? So the word, as General McCoy wants to put out another nuclear test amongst a bunch of soldiers who are being used as guinea pigs, one particular private is very suspicious as to what is happening. And his name is Private Otis Fallows. And he's noticing that with this next drop site that's going to be happening, that we're a little too close to where the blast is going to be happening. So we have to move back. But of course, he's a private. He has no say in this. So everybody is being instructed by General McCoy's orders, and nobody seems to be paying attention to exactly how close they are to the blast or close to the blast site. Of course, dressed in their ABC gear, their gas masks, all based up in just a foxhole, just sitting there waiting for this to happen. But Follows is very paranoid as to how close they are to the blast site and is noticeably hesitant as to what exactly is about to happen, because he knows that once it happens, I'm not necessarily going to be safe from it. And they've more than likely conducted a lot of these tests over the course of God knows how many weeks or months that they've been out there. But once it does happen, and the nuclear test goes off, and the bomb just essentially happens on those lands, the soldiers tend to pop out, and they're unbeknownst to this, because this might even be like their first time being out there. But they're seeing the ash start to fall from the sky. And one of the soldiers, of course, is elated because it looks like snow, and he hasn't seen snow since he's been in Montana. Almost like a kid in Christmas, he starts to do snow angels. Private Follows looks at this and says, "There ain't no way I'm taking off my mask." But then you start to see certain things start to happen to the rest of the soldiers that are happening out in this yard. And throat starts to itch, and people start to keel over. And the one, I guess, commanding sergeant that's basically putting all these soldiers at risk is telling them all to get on their feet and to get back in line. And I can understand that because I was in the military myself. And all of a sudden, one of the soldiers that was feeling that little bit of itch in his throat reaches out to that sergeant and just grabs his face. And all of these soldiers start to basically get burned into a mutation. Except for Private Fallows, because he never took off his gas mask. And he knew. So when he starts to see all these bodies drop before they're allowed to mutate, he actually grabs one of the soldiers' keys, hops in a Jeep, and just takes off. Now, they're in the middle of nowhere. They're pretty much in the middle of a desert. So God knows if there's any type of civilization out here until he actually reaches a diner. And you're seeing coming over the hills that all the soldiers who were affected by this blast have all been mutated and are chasing him full speed. This Jeep going into this diner until finally he reaches safety and is alerting these people who are just sitting there having breakfast. We got to board up these windows and get up out of here. And that's pretty much the course of issue 1. But essentially, at the end of the issue, you start to see that I'm not going to say it's an anonymous letter, but a letter all the same as to the Joint Chiefs of Staff have received an urgent letter written by Private Otis Fallows, and who's stationed at Gaines Base in Nevada, otherwise known as Site G. And that indicates that General McCoy has sanctioned a rogue operation known internally on the base as Operation Petrify. And pursuant to this discovery, they are now the letter came from Private Fallows and an anonymous officer who are saying that basically General McCoy has become increasingly erratic and obsessed with a porous black rock of unknown origin, which he apparently discovered on the base. Due to the secrecy of operations performed on Site G, discretion is requested for national security reasons to remove General McCoy from his service in the United States military. So I could tell you that when necessarily anybody of leadership starts to get a little bit demented, obsessive, or possessive, it's very difficult to remove that person from leadership. And better yet, it's almost damn near impossible, especially when it comes to the end goal of what maybe it's something more than just what the general wants. Maybe it's something that what the actual United States Army needs, and this is the only way to get to it. So these soldiers being made as guinea pigs might just be the first step. But excellent first issue. I like the way that there's a particular 4 to 6 frames that have no lettering whatsoever. There is no dialogue, because it's the chase scene of Private Fallows getting away from all this that is happening, all with his gas mask on, and like a rabbit shows up out of nowhere, and he's like, "Yo, get out of here." It was like almost like he don't even want to have the opportunity for this rabbit to get exposed to what's happening. But all in all, if this gains a lot of traction and how this mutation may start to develop amongst just outside of Southern Nevada, fantastic series. And you could probably put it in the context that it could be something like a zombie apocalypse, almost based out of the nuclear findings that might be happening during this book. But better yet, it's more so based on General McCoy, the decisions that he's made, the mutations that are happening on that base because of the nuclear test, and why it's happening. But I look forward to more. Chris Condon, of course, we talked about him doing Ultimate Wolverine. Also, he's been doing his own creator-owned properties, and I feel like he's got another banger on his hands. But we will look forward to more. Of course, you will see issue 2. I would love to read issue 2 for the next one for this series on this channel, and we will see you guys very much more next time on the Facts Project.